Welcome to Get Your FRQ On. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use your graphing calculator to evaluate functions. First thing you need is you need a function defined in your y equals editor. Here I have one. Notice that I've selected something that I'm not going to be able to evaluate by hand under almost any conditions. In other words, I'm going to need a calculator in order to evaluate this function. You can put in whatever function you want. And it'll work regardless. So I'm going to exit out of this, and one way to evaluate this function, let's say we want to evaluate the function at 2, is to go to variables, go to y variables, function, y1, and then in parentheses just put 2, and that uses y1 as sort of function notation. So if I hit enter, that will basically evaluate my y1 function at 2. It's like negative 0.04639. You can read, you can see that. So there's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to go to the table. So let's go to table, and you might have to change the settings in here to get the numbers that you want. But notice it gives me a table here, starts at 0, goes up by 1s, and it gives me values for the function in the y1 column. Notice, of course, that these are going to be approximations. We're dealing with transcendental numbers here, so the calculator is not going to be able to display them exactly. All right, scroll down to x equals 2, negative 0.046. 3 decimal places, that would certainly be sufficient for an AP exam. So you can evaluate functions using the table. Another way to evaluate the function is from the graph screen. If you go to calc, which you're going to want to hit second and then the trace button. And if you do that, notice that the very first option is value. All right, and basically what this does is this allows me to give the calculator a specific value of x. I'm going to give it 2, hit enter, and then not only does it show me that point on the graph, it also shows me the y coordinate of that point on the graph. So when you're dealing with functions on your graphing calculator and you need to evaluate it at a specific point, there are several ways to do that, whichever one you are most comfortable with or whichever one happens to be the most convenient at the time. The more ways you know how to do that, the easier that will be.